evening and welcome to another edition of our weekly program from the National Assembly Senate. On this 10th day of May 2017, what we have on the order paper are two reports that will be considered and then a total of about 13 bills that will be going in for a second reading. Now, among the bills that will be going for the second reading is a bill for an act to amend the pension reform 2004 to provide for definite percentage a retiree can withdraw from his retirement savings account. Sponsor of the bill will be Senator Aliyu Magataketa Wamagu, representing Sokoto North. Most distinguished, you're welcome.
Thank you, Waziri.
Yes. Can you tell us a bit about this bill that you're sponsoring?
Well, Waziri, to start with, having myself been a civil servant, having worked with civil servants for a good, better part of my life, and having known the angst and anxiety these innocent people, Nigerians, are facing, I deem it fit to look at that Pension Act 2014 and fine-tune it to favor retirees instead of the way it is now, which is more skewed in favor of the pension of these financial institutions, which are gaining more and more at the expense of the ordinary Nigerians. We all know the pains of our retirees from the uniform service, from civil service, and other services in this country. But upon retirement, it becomes almost impossible for them to access their retirement benefits if they need to attend to some of the basic things in life that they want to do. Instead, the law in 20% says they can withdraw lump sum, and that lump sum is so vague that the pension commission tried to make it extremely difficult for them to withdraw any substantial amount of it to attend to their basic needs. Instead of they will allow to be 20, 30, such others. So I feel there should be a different percentage, a lump sum, clear percentage that they can withdraw. That's why I'm proposing 75% of their benefit they can withdraw, instead of the vague figure which the commissions arbitrarily use to deprive them of the option of withdrawing what they need to do with their retirement benefits.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about figures now, the budget, 2017 budget, is on the minds of most Nigerians. Yes. What can you say about it?
Well, the budget has already been laid yesterday, and tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to pass it. Our hope is that this 2017 budget will be a budget that will address some of the most pressing issues that Nigerians are facing, economically and otherwise. It has taken time, of course, I agree. But then the truth is that the National Assembly is the institution vested with the powers to receive draft estimate or budget estimate from the prerogative arm of government, analyze it, x-ray it, fine-tune it, amend it, and then approve it and pass back to the executive for implementation. Okay. And that's why it has taken us time, because we are trying to make sure that no part of this country has been sidelined. No segment of this country has been neglected. No interest in this country has been abandoned. So that's the extent to which we have this 2017 budget can be said to be a budget of hope for this country. Okay. We are just hoping to get up the recession which we are in for the last couple of months, and I hope that this budget, as it is, if fully true and truly implemented, I'm sure Nigerians will start to feel the impact of the change that the present government under the leadership of General Muhammadu Buhari has promised under our good party, the APC.
I wish you happy deliberations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We'll take you into the chambers for deliberations as it comes to you live from the largest TV network in Africa. Happy viewing. We'll see you on the other side.
Failed and neglected to perform this crucial public and statutory duty, particularly for conduct of post-procurement audits and submission of reports to the National Assembly biannually. My respected colleagues, the Senate observes that the above neglect of duty by the BPP has affected the National Assembly in its constitutional duty of conducting oversight with respect to the application of public funds. The Senate notes that based on Section 6(1)(c) and Section 16(1)(b) of the Procurement Act of 2007, the Bureau of Public Procurement is authorized to issue certificate of no objection to contracts awarded by relevant procurement entities. Mr. President, the Senate further notes that the vesting of the above powers on BPP is aimed at ensuring that the letters and spirit of the Public Procurement Act is complied, government gets value for contracts or gets value for money, contracts awarded are within relevant thresholds, and has it backed by budgetary allocation. My respectful colleagues, the Senate observed that BPP has consistently engaged in underhand dealings with respect to the grant of certificate of no objection, abusing these powers to make pecuniary gains. The Senate further observes that such gross abuses and violation of Public Procurement Act 2007 has been exacerbated by the recent increase in arbitrary nomination of procuring entities, of winners for tendering processes, and where the procurement entity declines, the process is interjected and frustrated in bad faith and for flimsy reasons. My respected colleagues, the Senate this morning is concerned that if urgent steps are not taken to investigate these allegations and address proven infractions, the BPP is likely to transform itself from a regulator to disruptor and will endanger the entire public procurement system. The Senate this morning therefore resolves to mandate the Committee on Public Procurement in conjunction with its House of Representatives counterparts to investigate the above allegation and report back to the Senate in 5 weeks. Mr. President, today in this country, our roads are dead traps because of corruption. Our hospitals are now mere consulting clinics because of corruption. Today, mortality rates of children that are under 5 years old is 2,300 per day in this country. Today, hunger is responsible for 50% mortality rate of mothers and children. All because we have refused to address the issue of corruption in the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Just because we have refused to confront corruption from its roots through procurement processes. Mr. President, when I was a member of the House of Representatives, I queried the contract given to Julius Berger for the construction of the second runway of Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport. In 2008, that contract was in the budget for 2008 for 8 billion. Mr. President, it will amuse you to know that in 2009, the same contract appeared in the budget for 64.5 billion. And this was approved and ratified by the Federal Executive Council. Until that motion came up, and eventually the contract was reduced to 49 billion, and I went back and still argued it on the floor. The president then cancelled that contract. How long shall we continue in sin and ask grace to abound? It is time for the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to take the bull by the horn, ameliorate, correct, and Christian the BPP to do only that which is just and right for the masses of this country, so that social services will be available to the have-nots, the talakawas, and the mekunos. Mr. President, I will not want to belabor us with unnecessary commentaries. The time to act is now. Our primary responsibility as enshrined in Chapter 2 of the Constitution is that the security and the welfare of the people is the primary prerogative of government. The time to act is now, and we are the right people to speak against corruption in this country. Mr. President, I so move.
Session starting. Mr. President, I stand as Comrade Senator Shehu Sani to add my voice to this very important motion raised by Senator Dilo Melai. I do second. Mr. President, if there is any word today that has become a household in our daily lives, it's either corruption or anti-corruption. Our national discourse is suffused with all sorts of phrases: killing corruption, exterminating corruption, bombing corruption, ending corruption. But it is very clear that corruption is becoming immune to many applications that was aimed at bringing it to an end. The BPP is one institution that was created with the aim and a goal that is very clear: to check the processes of award of contract and transactions within government and out of government. But it's most unfortunate that despite our effort to address the problem of corruption in this country, it's becoming very clear that many things have not changed. Corruption is being focused on perhaps members of the National Assembly and the executive. But we have seen public office holders, particularly civil servants, becoming contractors themselves. As we have seen in previous investigations conducted in this chamber, it's very clear to us that people who call themselves public officers are, on the other hand, also contractors. The motion contains graphic description of how due process is seriously violated. And what we can do today is not simply add voice to the phrases that has become a national part of our national discourse, but to bring out practical steps that will cleanse the BPP. The BPP has been unable to address the problems that has to do with procurement in this country. Big-time contractors are still operating as if it was business as usual. And the political ruling elite in this country will have to understand clearly that inasmuch as we have to amass because of the opportunity of being in office, we are creating a society that is increasingly becoming disenchanted, and there is a growing discontent in the land. There is no doubt about it. Many of our problems we face today, the economic challenges, the political crisis, insurgency, is indirectly linked to the problems of corruption that has seriously destroyed the economy of this country. Mr. President, it is very much impossible for Nigeria to attain any enviable height as an industrialized nation once our system continues to make it possible for individuals to enrich themselves and impoverish the country. Our status as an African nation, a very important one today, cannot be justified if we are unable to address some basic problems within the territory of our nation, which has to do with bringing in and working towards a government that will, in every sense of the word, not only proclaim its commitment to fighting corruption, but is also seeing it practically. We have seen corruption rearing its ugly head in different aspects of governance. And it is in the best interest of Nigerians that there should be no focus on one arm of the state. Every arm of the state deserves an equal attention as far as transparency, probity, and accountability is concerned, and one of which is the BPP. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Matthew.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm Senator Matthew Urogide. I represent the Edo South Senatorial District, Edo State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I have taken the stand to support this motion within the confines of my conviction that
the Nigerian state suffers the problem that, of course, we all talk about, which is corruption today. Because all attempts to try to check it, equally to have been, brought to naught by those who really are supposed to operate our laws. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to remind us that the Public Procurement Act was brought into existence majorly to check the issue of corruption in this country. An assembly, a parliament, like the National Assembly to enacted this law, those who are supposed to execute it are equally the ones that are subverting the provisions of this law. Today, the motion that Senator Dino Melaye brought up, talking about the BBP, who is supposed to be a regulatory body, it is the one too that is subverting on the provisions of the law, and nobody seems to be concerned, nobody seems to be bothered about all these activities or these nefarious activities of the BPP. I think if we have to come up with resolutions from this motion, we must come up with very serious resolutions. It is not just for the purpose of presenting a motion. At the end of the day, we are not doing anything about it. All the activities that are perpetrated by the officials of BPP and those of them that are in the ministry, the MDAs, the Ministry of Department Agencies of Government, what they are doing about public procurement in this country, I think is a known fact to everybody. Today, even we, when we talk about constituency projects, the majority of Nigerians believe too that we are involved in the procurement process of some of these projects. And this again, we know it is not true. It's a misconception in public domain. Because the civil servants are the ones that award these contracts. They award these contracts to themselves. Not just that they award these contracts, they equally go to effect, substandard contracts that our people do not maximize the benefit from. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I believe if we want to be serious and we equally really want to fight corruption, pointedly, let it be that we are serious with this motion and with these issues. We must come up with things too that, of course, are practicable, so that they can now assist our people, assist our governments, or assist our agencies to ensure that our people get the maximum benefit from every penny that is invested in providing services and goods to our people. Our roads in this country today, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we know that huge sums of money are voted for our roads. But if you see the quality of roads that are given to Nigerians, by all the agencies concerned, we know that we do not get even up to 10% of what has been invested. Look at our airports. Mr. President, some time ago, we were privileged to go to South Africa, and we could see that what was spent building the domestic airport in South Africa is less than 10% of what we have used to build an international airport in this country. Anytime we are doing procurement, nobody is bothered about the BOQ, that is the bill of quantity of any contract that is awarded in this country. Because people reduce the provisions in our contracts because they want to survive the will and maximize their profit. I think this is the time when we go to do oversight function. There's the need for us to ask for the details of contracts so that we know those provisions that have been executed in our contracts, so that we have value for every penny that is spent. This is taxpayers' money. And I believe this is the time we too must stand as an assembly. We must stand up as a Senate. If we want to fight corruption in this country, the procurement procedure must really be attacked. We must see to it too that we do not compromise, so that those that are in the position to execute, budgets on our behalf, procurement process on the behalf of our people, they do it maximally to the benefit of our people. So I'm not just supporting this motion. I'm asking, soliciting the cooperation of our colleagues so that we support this motion and come up with a serious resolution. And if it is possible, let us have it in consonance with the House of Reps so that it becomes a resolution of the National Assembly. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Okay, this is we'll just take now and then we'll go to a prayer, because since this requires investigation, so we don't take a decision before we start the investigation. Senator Nala.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Let me quickly say that I've had the privilege of being a member of the Committee on Justice and and then Chairman Committee on Judiciary at the House of Representatives when this bill was conceived and then passed by the Senate and the House at then. The necessary intendment, sir, is to the effect that you look at the nature and character of an offense and then you determine the control strategy. And happily enough, sir, with the story of what we hear today and what we have seen, you can convincingly know that the entire recoveries that are associated with corruption in this country as at today has depicted that over 70% of what has been alleged to have been recovered by EFCC and the ICPC were recovered from the executive arm of government. So this is so that we understand clearly. Now the issue is, yes, recoveries. But what has been put in place to make it almost practically impossible for what has been recovered to be stolen again? I don't mean the subject of what has been recovered. What I'm saying is that if the law allows people to steal, for example, by some commission or omission elsewhere, and then at the end of it, we have discovered that we have made recoveries, we have to have a scientific approach to this. Aware of the fact that 70% of the recoveries came from the doorstep of the executive, it means the searchlight on preventive measures should be targeted at that arm of government. And like my friend rightly said, civil servants, whether we like it or not, the truth is that they are the contractors. And that's why if you bring a budget on the to the National Assembly and they have inserted what they have intended to steal, and then you come here and say, no, this is, because most of these things can be seen from even the way they are inserted in the budget, that they have no relevance whatsoever to what Nigerians need. If you say, take it back and put it where the relevance is, then they go back again and say, the National Assembly has disrupted the budget, is padding and all that. It's all intended to ensure that the National Assembly does not do its work. My take on this is, where we are today, we must now research and look at, for the 2 years of this aggressive fight on corruption and recovery, what can we do to prevent the stealing of government money, or at least reduce it to the barest minimum? And I think that whatever the committee is going to do should be targeted towards that, so that we can come with an innovative position that will, for example, we can make it a very, very serious offense for any public servant or political office holder to get involved in contract. We can make this. It's so easy. And if we do this, then we should be able to contain at least the further stealing of public funds. And in conclusion, Mr. President and my colleagues, it is not the intendment of the Public Procurement Act to allow the Federal Executive Council to award contract. And that was why we said in that law, there should be a procuring council. The argument, the National Procurement Council, what actually happened at that time was that the former president, Obasanjo, never wanted Atiku to be because when the law was brought, it was brought that it was the president who was going to be the chairman of the procuring council. We, myself, Dr. Ezekwe Seli, and one Eze, and Honorable Beta Amadi, sat on the top hill of Obudu and disagreed with that position and said, let it be given to the vice president, because at all material time, the president has always chaired the Federal Executive Council, and therefore we can have an independent body that can be the procuring council. Whatever politics that went into it that frustrated it, let's forget about that. But that is the necessary intendment. And I am of the opinion that this Senate should stand up now and write that position so that we can have some sense of sanity into the way the business of procurement is conducted in this country. Thank you very much, Mr.
All right, thank you, distinguished colleagues. On behalf of the Senate, I'd like to thank Senator Malaye for bringing this motion, and I'm happy that in our contributions, we've tried as much as possible not to get into the meat of the matter so that we don't seem to have taken a position. So we believe that our committee will do justice to this matter and be able to look into the issues raised and then report back to the Senate. At that point, be able to speak more and be able to take a firm decision. I just want to add that as parliamentarians, especially further to the provisions of our Constitution, we have responsibility to this country not only to make laws, that try to reduce corruption, but also to ensure that those laws are implemented. Yes, we have passed the BPE law, passed the EFCC, the ICPC Act, but I believe that further to Section 88, we have additional responsibility of oversight to ensure that these laws work for the people of Nigeria. So I do hope that when we refer this matter to the committee, that they will do an appropriate job. Only for me to remind Senator Malaya that I don't think it's appropriate for us to bring in the House of Reps at this time. I think our committee should be sufficiently empowered to do the investigation. Yeah, so on that note, when I read out the prayer, then we'll seek for appropriate amendment. Just one prayer. Mandate the Committee on Public Procurement in conjunction with its House of Representative counterparts to investigate the above allegations and report back to the Senate in 5 weeks. Any amendment? Senator, Just Manager.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, James Manager, Delta South, as correctly pointed out, this is a discussion here in the Senate. If we're mandating anybody at all, we have to mandate just the Senate Committee on Procurement to do the needful. So the amendment is just remove the House of Representatives at this stage, and then the Senate Committee on Procurement to go into the matter and bring a report that will be adequately debated on the floor of the Senate. Thank you, Mr.
Senator Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Barrow Jibril. I represent Kano North. I stand to second the motion for the amendment of that prayer as put forward by Senator James Manager. I so second.
Do you have a problem with that?
Not at all, sir, but just to inform us that the rationale behind the National Assembly is because the biannual report that the Act is requesting that the BPP give is to the National Assembly. But I concur with the amendment.
Yes, Dino, there's no way we can bring in House of Reps here. Each of the House of National Assembly acts independently. And if you look at Section 8, it is clear. It says, subject to the provision of this Constitution, each House of the National Assembly, blah, blah. So we cannot, at this place, commit the House of Reps to a public hearing. Okay. So those in support of the prayer as amended, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. So you refer to our Committee on Public Procurement to investigate and report back in 5 weeks. Thank you. Sir Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the conference report on the Agricultural Credit and Guarantee Scheme Amendment Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the Senate and the House passed different versions of the Agricultural Credit and Guarantee Scheme Amendment Bill 2017. The conference committee of both houses have met and harmonized the differences in accordance with the Senate Standing Order 87. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Abdullah Adamu to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the conference report.
Senior citizen, Senator Abdullah Adamu, former Chairman BOT.
Unfortunately for a non-existing party now, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Abdullahi Adamu. I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District. I stand to move the motion for the consideration of the conference report on a bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme Fund, Act 2017, Harmonized Version 2017. I so move.
Thank you. Senator Theoji.
All right. Your Excellency, Senate President, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator P.A. Oji. I represent the people of Abia Central worldwide. I stand to second the motion moved by my chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu. I so second.
Dear colleagues, those in support that the Senate do not consider this conference report, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Adamu, I would like to have the floor.
Mr. President, the bill for an act to amend Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme Fund, Act 2016, which is being amended, the bill seeks to amend the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme Act 20A11, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to enhance the capital base, expand the coverage, increase the size of the loanable fund, give more powers to the board, and for other related matters, 2017. A conference committee was announced in plenary on Tuesday, the 1st of November 2016, and Thursday, 17th November 2016, for the Senate and the House of Representatives, respectively, to harmonize the differences in the bill. The membership of the bill is set out there, of the committee is set out there. The Secretariat. The committee met on the 19th of January 2017 to consider the differences in the bill in order to harmonize both versions of the bill. At the end of the deliberations, the committee adopted the following. Senate version, long title, Amendment Clause, Section 2, Sub 2A, Section 6, Sub 1B, Section 7, 8, 9, 14, 16, 19, Section 1 of the schedule, short title and the explanatory memoranda. The House version, Section 5, Sub 6, Section 5, 6, Sub 1, A, Section 10, Sub 2, and Section 13. Conclusion, the committee wishes to thank the leadership of the Senate and the House of Representatives for giving it the opportunity to serve in this capacity. The committee further recommends that the harmonized version of the bill attached to this report be passed into law. Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, this is a conference report. It's not really open to debate. So, all right, Senator Manager.
Mr. President, my respected colleague, James Manager, Delta South. Sometimes when we look at these documents, we look at documents with the eyes of a lawyer. And when you look at certain contradictions, when you see certain contradictions, it is only fair because these are documents of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, sir, if you look at the signature page, I think some of these issues are fairly settled. But unfortunately, they keep on reoccurring, as if there is a contradiction. If you look at the signature page, Mr. President, sir, You will find out that Senator Dr. Abdullahi Adamu, former governor of Nasarawa State, signed a chairman's Senate committee. And then Honorable Mohammed Tahir Mogono signed a chairman House of Reps committee. And then the report itself, Mr. President, the report itself, see the same thing appearing. This is a conference committee, and having formed a conference committee in the Senate and a conference committee in the House, you met as a committee of the National Assembly, a conference committee. Who was the chairman of that conference committee? It is not reflected in the records. Very harmless observation, Mr. President, very harmless. But these records must be put right for posterity. It is very, very important. Who sat as chairman of the conference committee, because it's not reflected in your document, Your Excellency?
Senator Adamobla, I don't think you need to answer the question. Don't worry yourself. He said it's harmless. It's noted. These issues, some of the issues we need to resolve with the House. So it has to do with housekeeping. So let's not dramatize that. We've noted the point is erased. So we'll now put the question. Those in favor that the Senate do approve the conference committee report on the agricultural credit and guarantee scheme amendment Bill 2017, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. So the conference report is hereby approved. Thank you very distinguished Senator Adamu Abdullahi and the team for this work. We do believe that with this bill finalized, that we'll be able to operationalize the law that will help to advance our agriculture and provide food for our people. Thank you so much. Sir Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Marine Transport on the National Inland Waterways Act Cap N47, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2017. Single senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Wednesday, 11th January 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the single senator Ahmed Sani Erima, chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished. Erima, are you ready?
Your Excellency, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Marine Transport on a bill for an act to repeal the National Inland Waterways Authority Act N47 LFN 2004 and to enact the National Inland Waterways Authority Act to provide for the management, regulation, and development of the National Inland Waterways and to promote private sector participation in the development of the National Inland Waterways in Nigeria and for other related matters, SB 240, I so move.
Senator Tinubu.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Oluremi Tinubu, representing Lagos Central Senatorial District. I rise to support the motion that the Senate do consider the report of the Senate Committee on Marine Transport, National Inland Waterways Act Cap N47L, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2017 SB 2240. I so support.
Very well, thank you. Dear colleagues, those in support of the motion that Senate do now consider this report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. So the Yerima, you have the floor.
This report is a report of the Committee on Marine Transport on the referral in respect of the bill sponsored by distinguished Senator Andy Oba. Upon taking the second reading of the bill in plenary sitting, the Senate referred the bill to our committee for further legislative action and to report back with our recommendations. We have the membership of the committee, 20 in number, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the distinguished Senator Andy Oba sponsored Senate Bill SB 240 to repeal the National Inland Waterways Authority Act, the NIWA Act. In place of the NIWA Act, Senator Andy Oba proposes this Senate to enact a new National Inland Waterways Authority Act, providing for the management, regulation, and development of national inland waterways and promoting private sector participation in the development of the national inland waterways in Nigeria. Mr. President, the ultimate objective of this bill is to give robust legal framework to the federal government policy on efficient management of inland waterways. The strategic and huge business opportunities in our inland waterways put this bill in a class of its own with regard to our national and local economies. The legal frameworks proposed in this bill are intended to sustainably drive this subsector of our transport sector to deliver greater economic efficiency for the nation. Mr. President, in carrying out this very important assignment, the committee held several meetings to extensively review and enrich the referred bill. We examined successful reforms in several national jurisdictions. During these meetings, members of the committee made inputs that were consistent with the overall objectives of the bill. Arising from our aforesaid meetings, the committee decided to adopt a holistic approach to its legislative action on the referred bill by organizing a public hearing on the bill for a broad-based public consultation, by obtaining expert and non-expert views and advice from stakeholders and members of the public that will feed into the proposed enactment, and collating inputs and memoranda arising from such public hearing. Constituting a technical committee of experts, consultants, academics, and legal draftsmen, supervised by our subcommittee on bills, motions, and public hearing, to review the submissions and memoranda made at the public hearing with the objective of putting together a refined bill. Yeah. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, public hearing was incisive in engagement and enriching in outcome. Mr. President, SB 240, also called the NIWA bill, distinguished Senator Andy Oba proposed the repeal of the current Inland Waterways Authority Act and enactment of a new law in its stead that provides for the development and improvement of our national inland waterways. The committee's recommendation are as follows, as indicated in the table below. We have Section 1 amended, Section 2 to 3 retained, Section 4 amended, Section 5 and 6 retained, 7 and 8 amended, Section 9 to 12 retained, 13, 14 amended, 15 retained, 16 amended, 17 retained, 18 to 20 amended, 21 to 38 retained, 39 amended, 40 to 45 retained, 46 amended, 47 to 55 retained, 56 amended, 57 to 63 retained, and Section 64 amended, 65 retained, Schedule 1 amended, Schedule 2 to 4 retained. In conclusion, finally, we wish to use this opportunity to thank Mr. President and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. We humbly recommend the urgent passage of this bill by the Senate. It will strengthen our national and local economies.
Mr. Leader. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into committee of the whole to consider the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do resolve into a committee of the whole to consider this report. I so second.
Very distinguished colleagues, those in support of the motion that we do resolve into a committee of the whole to consider this report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. All right, in the absence of any comment, you go straight to the bill. Clause 1. Those in support that clause 1 start part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2. Those in support that clause 2 start part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3. Retained. Those in support that clause 3 start part of the bill say aye. So that against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 4. Those in support that clause 4 start part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5. Clause 6. Those in support that clauses 5 and 6 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 7. Any comment? Those in support that clause 7 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 8. Those in support that clause 8 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 9 and clause 10. Those in support that clauses 9 and 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Manager, please.
I think that is the removal of the managing director or executive director. I think that's clause 10. Okay, okay. 11, okay. It's not.
11. You have something to say? Go ahead.
Clause 11, sub 1, I think E. Clause 11, sub 1E. If the managing director is disqualified or suspended from practicing his profession in any part of the world by a competent authority. I don't understand that particular provision. Maybe the chairman can explain. The managing director can be removed if he's suspended or disqualified from his profession in any part of the world by a competent authority. What do you really mean by that? What profession?
If somebody is a member of certified engineers, associate engineers, or any profession, and you are disqualified, maybe by later on they discovered that your certificate is not genuine or something, and you're appointed based on those documents, you are supposed to be disqualified from being the managing director of the authority. Andy, take care of Uncle.
Are you satisfied? All right. Those in support as clause 11 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 12. Those in support that clause 12 stand part of the bill say aye. Those in support that clause 12 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 13. Those in support that clause 13 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clause 14. Those in support that clause 14 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 15 and clause 16. No, clause 15. Those in support that clause 15 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16. Those in support that clause 16 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 17. Those in support that clause 17 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 18. Those in support that clause 18 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 19. 19, anybody? Those in support that clause 19 stand part of the bill say aye. Sorry, Barrow.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Barrow Jibril. I represent Kano North. Clause 19. The authority shall not, without the written approval of the President, concession or lease its land or property for more than 5 years. I think that this is very stringent. Sorry, it's amendment. Okay. It's all right. It's okay.
Clause 19. Don't support that clause 19. Stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. 20. Those support that clause 20. Stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21, 22, and 23. Okay, 23. Okay.
Okay.
So, clauses 21 and 22, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 23. So, sorry, state leader. Okay. 21, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I'm looking at the application of the authorities' monies. And 22.1, the amendment, says the authority shall have the power to expend the funds which accrue to it under this act in the course of performing its functions. Any excess of the authority's revenue for any year over the approved expenditure for that year shall, subject to its approved annual budget, be remitted to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. The first one, number 1 there, does not explicitly indicate that it's the National Assembly that appropriates. But is that the case? Or does the National Assembly appropriate first before expenditure? Is it? I'm just asking.
Senator Yerima.
Yes, the National Inland Waterways have they have 2 sources of funding: national budget and the revenue that they generate, IGR. So they all are supposed to be approved by the National Assembly. Uh, 21 years.
Because if you look at clause 20, it defines the funds of the authority. It says there is established for the authority a fund which shall consist of the monies accruing to the authority through appropriation made to it by National Assembly, charges, dues, levies, loyalties, and fees collected by the authority, concession fees paid to the authority, annual fees for license and permit, gifts, and all that. So what the leader is saying is that further to that, and looking at the provision of clause 21, whether this other fund, except that for the one that are appropriated by National Assembly, whether the authority can keep the rest and spend as they like. That's the point he's trying to.
They don't have power to spend anything other than what is approved by the National Assembly. They don't have special powers to spend any money. All this source of revenue are supposed to be captured in their budget every year. When they capture it, it is approved, then they expend. So what the section is saying that the authority has the power to expend money as approved by the National Assembly. That is expended.
Yes, Deputy Leader.
I think the ordinary interpretation of the provision of Section 1 is to the effect that whatever accrues, yes, irrespective of the source, then the inland waterways has power to expend. That's the necessary intendment. And the issue now is whether it conforms with the constitutional requirement that says that all earnings and revenues and whatever shall be put in the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation. Because by this provision, whatever accrues to national inland waterways, they have power to spend. And in fact, to the extent of inconsistency with the Constitution, this provision can be declared null, void, and of no effect. Now we delete it, sir.
Unless there is better explanation.
Yes, sir. In the absence of no explanation, sir, can override the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic.
I want to agree with the submission that you see, even subsection 2 should be deleted because it contradicts the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which says they can retain only 80%. I mean, they can transfer only 80%, and 20% should be retained by the authority. By saying all the money should be transferred to CRS, I think we can delete just one, both 1 and 2. Yes.
Thank you, Senator. Yes. Before you do that, let's hear from Gabriel.
Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, yes, I quite agree that item number 1, it's not good. But I think we can say subject to the approval of the National Assembly, then blah, 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 we can go ahead and put something.
They provide medical relief.
Gas pipelines are the arteries for powering electricity. When the artery is burst, then the entire system collapses. Vandalizing gas pipelines is a criminal offense against the Nigerian people. Let us join hands and protect our gas pipelines from the enemies of Nigeria. Report any suspected vandal to the security operatives. Let us stop vandals before they destroy our collective national heritage, so we can have the Nigeria of our dreams, where there will be light at all times. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
taxation. That depressing but...
Expend is supposed to receive National Assembly approval. And based on this, I second the motion that we delete these two provisions. Thank you.
All right. Gentlemen, you say you don't have a problem with that. Okay. Don't support that clause 21 as amended, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying nay, the ayes have it. Clause 22. Those support that clause 22, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying nay. Senator Manager, 22, right? Okay. Don't support that clause 22, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying nay, the ayes have it. 23. Yes, Lidani.
Mr. Chairman, clause 23, it seems to me that there is a contradiction here. It's, whereas 23.1 annual budget says the authority shall not later than 4 months to the end of the financial year prepare and present to the Minister for consideration and presentation to the National Assembly for approval a statement of estimated income and expenditure of the following year. Then 2 is saying, notwithstanding the provisions of 1, the authority may also in any financial year submit a supplementary or adjusted statement of estimated income and expenditure to the Minister for approval, which means the Minister could approve any supplementary budget or estimates of any particular year, which to me should be deleted because it contradicts 1, and secondly, it's not right that the Minister could approve any supplementary budget of the Inland Waterways. Thank you.
Senator Manager.
Mr. Chairman, my respected colleagues, exactly the same team. I wanted to point out, because if you are saying that the National Assembly has right to approve, and then in one breath you are saying that, another breath you are saying something different, I don't think it is right. Except the adjustment. If you want to amend it, the adjustment of the supplementary can also be subjected to the approval of the National Assembly. Yes. Yes. I think that is the way to go. That is the amendment, sir.
Mr. Chairman, in the course of this deliberation, we deleted Section 21, the recommendation in Section 21, Section 1 and 2, on the basis of the argument put forward by the Deputy Leader that all monies accruing to agencies should go to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. If you read this one in relation to this 23, there's a contradiction because the provision here assumes that the money is not going to Consolidated Revenue Fund. And therefore, when you read the argument put forward by the Deputy Leader for the deletion of 1 and 2 in 22, these two should go because all monies accruing should go to the Federation account as per the Constitution, as argued by the Deputy Leader.
Distinguished Senator, I think the difference here is that one we discussed earlier relates to revenue. This one is expenditure. So this has to do with Section, I think, 81 of the Constitution. The first one was Section 80. This was 81. So I think there are two different things. So what they are saying is that that each year, in relation to this one, that the authority should send their supplementary act to the minister, but all they are saying that it's either it's deleted or it has to come to the National Assembly through the minister. So this is different from the issue of it's the income, the earning that goes to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. All right, go ahead.
The assumption is that the expenditure must be based on a revenue. You cannot have an expenditure without revenue. Where is the revenue coming from? Is it from the Consolidated Revenue Fund or is it coming from outside the Consolidated Revenue Fund? That's my argument. You cannot have an expenditure without revenue. They are related. So if you say you are approving their budget, it means you are approving a revenue that is outside, that is coming outside the Consolidated Revenue Fund, which contradicts the argument put forward by the Deputy Leader.
I think I'm missing today. I have IGR as well. Let's hear from the Chairman of Finance, Senator Eno.
Mr. Chairman, my name is John Ono, Cross River Central. Mr. Chairman, I think if you look at the spirit of having a supplementary bill or requirement, it's that there is something that you didn't anticipate. So what is possible is that it's still possible that at the beginning of the year, there were some revenue streams that were not anticipated, and therefore the agency can actually have a need to do another request, either in terms of expenditure or in terms of revenue. So I don't think that this is really a problem. I think that in responding to clause 23(2)(1), as has been indicated, I think that the idea is that this clause, the emphasis is on the fact that the authority may have a need for supplementary. I think that we shouldn't, because it is limited to the minister, now say that this clause should be deleted. What we can do is to also tie it up to the fact that when it is submitted to the minister, it needs to be forwarded to the National Assembly for approval. I think so I second it, yeah.
Thank you so much. Distinguished colleagues, those in support that clause 23, as amended, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 24. Those in support that clause 24, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 25 and 26. Those in support of clauses 25 and 26, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 27, 28, and 29. Those in support of clauses 27, 28, and 29, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 30, 31, and 32. Those in support of clauses 30, 31, and 32, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 33 and 34 and 35. Those in support of clauses 33, 34, and 35, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 36, 37, and 38. Those in support of clauses 36, 37, and 38, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 39. Those in support of clause 39, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 40 and 41. Those in support of clauses 40 and 41, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 42, 43, and 44. Those in support of clauses 42, 43, and 44, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 45. Those in support of clause 55, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 46. Those in support of clause 46, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 47, 48, and 49. Those in support of clauses 48. Yes, Jubre.
Mr. Chairman, clause 48. There is a. Okay, sir.
Those in support of clause 47, stand part of the bill, say aye. You have a problem with 47? Eh? 46? Okay, don't worry, we can come back to it. Let's finish. Those in support of clause 47, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The one problem I have to do with 46.
The relationship between what we have here and the court order for sealing premises, I think there might be a slight contradiction there. We have it here that where an occupant or operator within the declared right of way of the Nigerian National Inland Waterways fails to comply with the prescribed regulation or approved tariff under this Act, the authority, with the assistance of the relevant law enforcement agencies, shall have power to seal such premises or site pending the determination of a lawsuit in effect. What I'm saying is that ordinarily we should expect a court order before you seal sites. Otherwise, it might lead to litigation at a later time. So perhaps this power is a bit too much. Or there might even be a contradiction. I've just explained, sir. I said ordinarily, when you have a business site, to seal it, ordinarily you would require a court order. So if you give the authority power to seal a premises without a court order, then it can lead to litigation against even the authority. So I think there's some contradiction there. I don't think we should give them the power to seal a site without a court order.
Mr. Chairman, I think I agree with him that there's need for court order before anybody seals anybody's property. So we can amend the section to say the authority should obtain a court order whenever an operator intend to carry that such action.
Want to propose the amendment?
Give me a moment to think about it, sir. Perhaps another senator might suggest an amendment. It's just the aspect of the court order that I think we should bring in, sir. So we can just add subject to a court order.
Dear colleagues, those in support that clause 46, as amended, start part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. 48. Yes, Jubril.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Manoj Jibar, representing Kano North. Mr. Chairman, I'm referring to item 3, which says any violation of the provision of subsections 1 and 2 of this section shall be an offense liable on conviction to a fine of not less than 1 million or to imprisonment for a term not less than 3 years or to both. And in case of a continuing offense, to a further fine of not less than 120,000. So what I mean, my concern here is that maritime service sometimes is really, involve big amount of money. When you say when we restrict ourselves to 120, somebody could perform an illegal service, which may run up to maybe 10 million or 20 million, and now you are telling him to pay only 120,000 per day, and it could be more than 120,000. That's what I'm saying. It could be 1 million or 2 million. So somebody can just decide to go on to do an illegal service that may fetch him or fetch her, say 1 million, and then he knows he's going to pay just 120,000. So he's going to run at a profit. So what I'm saying is that we should not state a specific amount of money. We might say he should pay money he should pay not less than the money such an offender derived from carrying that illegal service.
I think we need to be specific. We've done this kind of law here severally. It says, if you look at that section, it says, or to imprisonment for a term not less than 3 years or both. And in case of a continuing offense, to a further, so in addition to the punishment, to a further fine of not less than 120,000. So it can be 1 million, it can be 2 million, it can be 10 million, depending. Yeah, it's not less than. So it depends on. Sometimes have to leave this at the discretion of the court. They have to look at all the circumstances. On the same subject, I think it's settled, unless you have a different view. Okay.
The same provisions, I have a problem because it says on conviction to a fine of not less than 1 million or to imprisonment or for a term not less than 3 years or to both. Or to both. Have you seen that?
So that too ought to go. Or both, yes.
Dear colleagues, those in support that clause 48, stamp out of the bills as amended, say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it. 49 and 50. 49, Senator Gabriel.
49, sir. I'm just trying to look at the definition of evasion and omission. Here it states that the act shall be, okay, whosoever commits that act shall be liable, that is on page 43, shall be liable to pay to the authority a penalty 10 times the amount of the dues, rates, charges, fees, or fees he evaded or attempted to evade or neglected or omitted to pay. Omission is different from evasion. The man who evades actually doesn't want to pay. But omission, it could be a mistake. Then you are charging them the same. You are giving them the same penalty, the same punishment. No, but you have to know his intention. No. I think we have to look at this issue. Please. Huh? Yeah.
No, I see the point he's making. Because say if you neglect to pay, so that's you've committed an offense. But say if you omitted, so what the point is making that it could be a genuine case of omission. So the point you're making is to remove the word omission, omitted. Senator Lidani.
I think I agree with Senator Gobi because evasion and omission are not the same. I agree with Gobi. I second the motion that I second the amendment as proposed by Senator Gobi.
That's why I'm trying to remove the word omission here. Because, yes, Sir Ali.
Not an excuse. He might pretend that he's ignorant of the law, he's omitting it, so they should know. The law is specific on this. And the first ingredient is where there is a duty to act. Where there is a duty to act, and then you fail to act, then that constitutes criminal omission. So that is the intendment of this provision. And I think it will not be wise for us to remove this omission because what it means is that we will have failed in our determination to capture those who have been imposed with the duty to act and who have neglected and or refused to act. So that's the position, sir.
Well, we're going to put the question in respect of the amendment anyway, because the point is making that since we have the offense of neglect here, so why do we now put omission? Because if you neglect to pay, I think that can cover sufficiently the intent of the law. Okay. So those in support that clause 49 as amended, stamp out of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 50, those support that clause 50, stamp out of the bill, say aye. Yes, Francis.
Mr. Chairman, just a little correction which had been done before. He said on less than 200,000 imprisonment for a term of not exceeding 3 months or to vote. I think it should be to vote, not to vote. To have been corrected before.
Okay, so Secretary, take notes and they apply it to mutatis mutandis. All right. All right, so those support that clause 50 as amended, stamp out of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. 51 and 52. Those support that clauses 51 and 52, stamp out of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. 53, 54, 55. Those in support that clauses 53, 54, and 55 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support that clause 56 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. 57 and 58. Those in support that clauses 57 and 58 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. 59, 60, 61. Those in support that clauses 60, 59, 60, and 61 at page 48 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. 62 and 63, page 49. Those in support that clauses 62 and 63 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 64, interpretation. Those in support that clause 64 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Now we go to the short title, clause 65. Those support that clause 65, which is the short title, where it still needs amendment because this is 2017. Senator Yeriman. Clause 65, amending it to 2017. Secretary, take note. You should read Waterway Authority Act 2017. Those support that clause 65 stand part of the bill as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule 1. Those support that Schedule 1 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule 2. Those support that Schedule 2 stand part of the bill say aye. Yes, manager. Yes.
Interpretation. You look at inside the definition of transport sector regulator, page 90, sir. Is it 50? Yes, page 50. Page 50. Yes. Inside the definition of transport sector regulator, after the definition of terminal operators, as for transport sector regulator means anybody set up by an act to regulate the sector. I believe that anybody or anybody corporate set up by an act to regulate the sector, because you are talking about an act. So you never can tell if another law will also make a provision for it. So anybody or anybody corporate. I just wanted the word corporate to be added. Anybody or anybody corporate. Do you stand to lose anything? No, but what's the difference? The difference is individual and corporate. Individual and corporate. What is other individual or corporate? Do you stand to lose anything by having corporate? Well, you don't get anything by having.
Mike, I think it's sufficient the way it is here. We're talking about body here. It could be individual, it could be a corporate organization. No. No, I think we were fine. All right. Those in support that clause, Schedule 2, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying nay. The ayes have it. Schedule 3. Those in support that Schedule 3, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying nay. The ayes have it. Schedule 4. Those in support that Schedule 4, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against saying nay. The ayes have it. Memorandum explanatory memorandum. Those support that explanatory memorandum stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We now go to a long title. Those in support that the long title stamp out of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senate Leader.
Where were you? I move that the Senate do revert to plenary for the chairman to report progress.
The Uncommon Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to support the motion that the chair do report progress. I so second.
Dear colleagues, those in support of the motion that chair now report progress, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Marine Transport on National Inland Waterways Act Cap N47, Laws of the Federation, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2017, and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 20 as recommended, 21 deleted, 22 as recommended, 23 as amended, 24 to 45 as recommended, 46 to 50 as amended, 51 to 64 as recommended, Schedules 1, 2, 3, 4 as recommended, short title as amended, long title as recommended. It is a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole. Very well, thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Minority.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion. I should second.
Dear colleagues, those in support of the motion that this Senate do now read this bill for the third time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the National Inland Waterways Authority Act, Cap N47, LFN 2004, and to enact the National Inland Waterways Authority Act to provide for the management, regulation, and development of the national inland waterways and to promote private sector participation in the development of the national inland waterways in Nigeria and for other related matters, 2017, third reading.
Very distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal the National Inland Waterways Authority Act, Cap N47, Laws of the Federation 2004, and to enact the National Inland Waterways Authority Act to provide for the management, regulation, and development of the national inland waterways and to promote private sector participation in development of the national inland waterways in Nigeria and for other related matters, 2017, third reading taken and passed. Well, thank you, distinguished colleagues. I would like to congratulate everybody here for this feat we have achieved today. I think this is a new day for our waterways, and we believe that with the infusion of the participation of the private sector and also strengthening the regulatory provisions here, that we're going to see an improved management of the waterways, and believe that this will help to also develop further our transport sector. So I'd like to thank Senator Anjuba for bringing this bill and the committee for their prompt action in dealing with the bill and presenting it today. So I want to congratulate all of us and thank you for your commitment to the development of our transport sector and also increasing the ease of doing business in Nigeria. So this is one of the bills we promised to pass at the reception of the 8th Senate, and I'm happy that we've been able to achieve one of those aims and aspirations of this particular Senate today. So once more, I want to thank all of us. Congratulations, distinguished colleagues. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the Nigerian Postal Services Act, Cap N127, LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 22nd October 2015. Mr. President, you may wish to invite very distinguished Senator Gilbert Nudge to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Nudge.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I move that a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Postal Service Act Cap number 127 Law of Federation of Nigeria 2004 to provide for the operations and development of postal services, the establishment of the Nigerian Postal Commission, and for related matters connected therewith, 2017. I so move.
I can proceed, don't worry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to lead the debate on the general principle of this bill. Let me quickly say that the bill is a wholesome reform of the postal industry. It is not an amendment, but a repeal of the existing NIPOST Act to reenact a new legislation to cater for the far-reaching reforms in the postal industry. The bill was first read on the floor of the Senate on Thursday, 22nd October 2015. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Nigerian Postal Bill seeks to establish a regulatory framework for the Nigerian postal industry by creating an effective, impartial, and independent regulatory authority. It is proposed as a catalyst to encourage local and foreign investment in Nigerian postal industry, particularly given the innovative services and practices in the industry in recent times. And above all, it seeks to engender international best practices. For more than a century, the Post Office has existed in the country as part of Post and Telecommunication Department, P&T, before it was split in January 1985 into NITA and NIPOST. Through the promulgation of Decree number 18 of 1987, NIPOST became an extra-ministerial department. It subsequently became a parastatal with more autonomy and responsibility for the provision of postal and allied services to the public through its existing law, NIPOST Act Cap N127 Law of Federation of Nigeria 2004. In line with its international obligation, the federal government has the social responsibility to ensure and guarantee the constitutional right to basic level of communication for its citizens. For postal services, this fundamental right is cemented in the concept of universal service obligation, USO, which corresponds to the essential minimum postal service under the UN Charter and guarantee the entire society. The postal sector can be defined as an amalgam of transport, logistics, distribution, and related entities that are involved in the linking of communities by movement of messages, information, goods, and services. The industry impacts on the daily lives of the people all over the world. Even in this digital age, the postal sector remains the most accessible means of communication and message through parcel delivery. The postal system is a sub-key result area for knowledge-based economy. The extensive network penetration into the rural areas and variety of services it can offer makes the postal system a necessary tool for promotion of social, financial, and digital inclusion. Mr. President, distinguished senators, globally, the development of product mix in the postal industry has made it a potent instrument for social economic development and transformation. This is important for bridging the digital divide and taking financial services and governance to the grassroots in order to reduce poverty and encourage lifelong learning. Over the years, however, the environment has continued to change, requiring the postal industry in the country to equally change to meet contemporary reality. It is for this reason that the bill proposed to restructure the postal industry with still relevant contribution to national development. The bill is proposed as a catalyst to facilitate the reform of the postal industry. It provides for a governing board and a commission to formulate postal industry policy with clear objectives on the role of postal sector in the national economy. The bill provides for the staff of the commission to be headed by a director general in addition to other key personnel. It makes financial provision for the commission, create powers and grant licenses, condition of license renewal and revocations. Sundry powers are also provided for the effective regulation of the industry in addition to the administration of the postcode system, tariff regulation, and maintenance of technical standards. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill split up the dual role of policymaker, independent regulator, and industry operator, which NIPOST currently enjoys, whereas the NIPOST is to solely retain the role of industry regulator. To ensure level playing field, each existing commercial arm will be incorporated as a limited liability company to operate in the industry independent of NIPOST in addition to other operators. This split will facilitate a radical change in the business culture of the successor company of commercialized arm of the NIPOST. And this is expected to ensure an extensive change in the management successor company, injection of investment fund, and attraction of skilled personnel in the industry. The bill provides the framework for the first liberalization of the postal market to encourage increased private sector participation, service diversification based on predefined milestones of NIPOST. The bill will make the postal sector commercially viable and provide a safe and efficient postal services that is sustainable and keep pace with development in the rest of the world. The bill will ensure fair competition in the industry as it seeks to encourage Nigerians to own, control, and manage postal organizations. It offers a basis for the protection of rights and interests of services or service providers and consumers, and encourage the development of postal manufacturing and supply sector within the Nigerian economy, and also encourage effective research and development efforts by all postal industry practitioners. The bill does not have any financial implications as the management structure, infrastructure facilities, and assets of NIPOST will form a nucleus of the commission with subsequent appointment made pursuant to provision of this bill. Mr. President, distinguished senators, this bill facilitates major industry reform. It liberalizes postal service operation in the country, and above all, it ensures international best practices in the industry. I therefore urge my distinguished colleagues to support this bill for a second reading. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Senator Ali Aidoko.
Thank you, Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues.
I support.
My name is Senator Atai Aidoko Ali. I represent Kogi East. Mr. President, I rise to support this very important bill. And in supporting this bill, Mr. President, I think this is one of the best bills that this Senate will be passing in this Senate. Mr. President, the NIPOST, as it stands today, is like a dead horse. The NIPOST that in the good old days, Mr. President, you can be in the rural areas, you can be in school, in the village, and you write a letter, you just put it in the post office box, and this letter in matter of days is delivered to its destination. Communications is regular, and people get in touch with themselves in the very conventional way. Mr. President, these days, even our kids don't even know how to write letters and post letters. This is because of the moribund nature of NIPOST. There is no enlightenment. NIPOST is almost dead. Mr. President, this bill seeks to reinvent NIPOST, make NIPOST more commercial make NIPOS commercial and profitable so that it can be sustained. Mr. President, I urge this Senate, looking at the bill, we can see the details of how this new NIPOS is going to be structured to meet international best practices. Mr. President, it's very sad that when you go out of this country and you are feeling unaddressed in Nigeria, most times there's always a provision for zip code. Mr. President, it's very, very sad and very embarrassing that nobody can state outside the country where his zip code is. This is because there's no efficient NIPOS and there's no efficient postal system in this country. This bill, as it is, will help everybody know the zip code of where he is staying, and this will also help security agencies to track wherever they want to track on the press of the button. So, Mr. President, with all the advantages that this bill seeks to provide, including commercial and financial benefits to this country, I urge the Senate to support this bill so that we can pass it for a second reading. Thank you.
We'll take the Deputy Chairman of the committee, Senator Solomon, and then we'll take the leader and then we'll put the question, because we had a robust debate on this in a similar bill earlier in April.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, distinguished colleague. Adiola Solomon Olamilekon, representing Lagos West Senatorial District. I'm from Lagos State. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, we are aware that a similar bill was discussed on the floor of the Senate by Senator Benga Shafa. And I'm also sure that that same day, Senator Gilbert Inaji was supposed to at least contribute or present his own bill as well on that very day, but he was unavoidably absent. But Mr. President, distinguished colleague, as contained in the contribution of Senator Inaji, the current state of Nigerian NIPOS is nothing to write home about. I was opportune to go with the committee on an oversight function to the Nigerian NIPOS services. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, listening to the man in the aim of affairs of the Nigerian NIPOS, you will find out that the challenges confronting the Nigerian NIPOS is enormous to the extent that paying basic bills of this agency cannot afford. And even their present abode, where the headquarters of Nigerian NIPOS is nothing to write home about. That shows if the headquarters of the Nigerian NIPOS services can be in that form, what do we expect in other branches across the country? If you look at the contribution made, that this bill seeks to provide a regulatory framework so that we can have an effective and functional NIPOS services. As my brother equally raised, if you travel out of this country and you are asked to fill any form, there is a portion where they will call the zip code. Usually you will see Nigerians putting +234 as their zip code. I continue to wonder. That shows failure on the part of those running these services to not at least cannot put together a zip code for us as a nation. I want to strongly believe that this bill, there is a thorough work that we need to do at the committee level, where we have to try as much as possible not to only look at the challenges confronting the NIPOS services, but to go outside the shore of this country and draw inspiration and also draw experience from other NIPOS services across the whole world, so that by the time we will be doing the committee work on this bill, we will have a thorough and a detailed NIPOS Act that can take care of inefficiencies and inadequacies in the current NIPOS Act that we have in place. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I want to implore my colleague to let us at least for once give all sense of responsibility towards this bill so that we can have a NIPOS that is truly functional and effective and that will be useful to all of us as a country.
Yes, we are slowly but steadily coming to the end of another very interesting day here at the Senate. As we have told you earlier, a number of reports have been considered. That of the Conference Committee report on the Agricultural and Credit Guarantee Scheme. There is also the report on the Committee on Marine and Transport, National Inland Waterways, and so on and so forth. We are privileged to have today to sort of give us a summary of really what transpired before we say our final goodbyes. We have Senator James Manager representing Delta South. Sir, can you in summation tell us what really transpired today at the floor of the Senate?
Today is the second allotted day for deliberations on issues affecting the nation on the floor of the Senate for this week. Right. Yesterday we sat, today we are sitting, and by the grace of God tomorrow we are sitting again. And everything is about how to take Nigeria from the level it is to the next level. And of course there was a conference committee report that was presented on the floor of the Senate. Conference committee, that means what was done between two committees, the committee in the Senate and the committee in the House of Reps, that is for the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme. And whatever we are doing, it is to take Nigeria out of the level we have, because nobody's happy with what we are passing through. To take Nigeria to the next level, one sector after the other, and that is what Senate tried to do today. And of course, there were some other bills that came up for deliberations. The one that we considered just before this one, that is one on postal, providing a legal framework for the postal industry. We also try to do so many things, and by the grace of God, tomorrow we are going to consider the budget for 2017.
Well, that you've mentioned in the budget, what's your take? Even at this, at the risk of preempting, I really want to know your take at this point in time on the budget 2007 and 2017. Yes.
2017, the budget of 2017 was late by the chairman of the committee, Senator Danjuma Goje, yesterday on the floor of the Senate, and because of the confusion and the type of negative comments that have been going on ever since, we have decided to at least do it more transparently, and that is by taking the details one after the other on the floor of the Senate. And that's the reason why we couldn't take the budget today, and we're going to take it tomorrow. And by the grace of God, we are going to pass the budget tomorrow. And don't forget, whatever we are doing is in the full glare of the public. The gallery is there, the press is there, everybody is there. If you are interested, I'm sure Nigerians are all interested about our budget, the budget for 2017. And so tomorrow we are going to take a critical look at the budget. And from the beginning to the end tomorrow, it will be budget 2017 all through. And we will take it and pass it by the grace of God.
For the very first time, this is the first time the report is coming with details.
To the best of my knowledge, this is the first time the details, the minutest details are coming up in the budget, and therefore the document is very, very bulky. Okay. But no matter how bulky the document is, senators are expected to go through this document between that yesterday when it was late and tomorrow morning by the time we resume plenary at about 10 a.m. Senators are supposed to understand what the details are all about. Okay. And therefore, if you are representing the people, you must be interested in what is going on, in your own area, as far as the national budget is concerned. Yes. So that is why we are here. Okay. And we are 109, representing 109 senatorial districts. So all Nigerians are represented here. So we will look at it and try to protect the interests of all the senatorial districts and looking at the nation as a whole. Yes.
Well, finally, somebody said, detailed as it is, does it also include the details of the budget of the National Assembly?
Well, yes, we are looking at the budget. We have not gone through the whole details, but all the details are expected to be exposed. Okay. Yes. All right. There's no holding back. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this is how far we can go on this edition of the program from the National Assembly Senate. We'll see you next week, God willing. On behalf of the entire crew of this production, this is Wazir Zayaru saying, have a very pleasant day ahead. Bye-bye.